Just kidding. Okay, so we are supposed to be live.
Hey,
And I think we're live.
Hey, everybody.
Hello. This is the first ever Crypto Trader News live podcast / video / who knows what this is. Looking right down into the deep, dark depths of the Crypto Trader News editorial staff. And Today we're going to talk about Bitcoin and gold, right? Is that the topic?
Today is where we actually get to punch each other on the face and see,
gosh.
I have a feeling where this is actually going to go. And I think it's going to be fun. Particularly, it's a topic that really gets people, very passionate about. I don't know. It's like Bitcoin, gold. It's like, there's always just like Republicans, Democrats, or, Madrid, Barcelona. It's like Bitcoin, gold. It's like we either love one and hate the other thing, or or vice versa. Anyways, Dennis, you want to go through your whole intro?
Yeah, show it up here. Let's just go through it. The reason I put this little thing together was just because if we're going to talk about Bitcoin and is it the new gold or whatever, you really got to think about it in a scale of suffering, right? I mean, we're talking about when things go bad, because when things are hunky-dory and everything's great, then who really gives a squat about gold? I mean, nobody really cares that much. The whole idea is that you hoard gold to protect yourself in a bad time, right? And so that got me thinking, and I said, well, let's think about the different levels of suffering that we could be thinking about, so that when we're talking in this conversation, we know, are we thinking about just plain old ordinary simple suffering, like a recession where infrastructure's there, but internet still works, there's still food on the shelves in the stores, but things are kind of bad. That was my first thought. That's simple suffering. Then we get to serious suffering. That's like 2008, maybe. This is a major downturn. But even still, the financial system, it's hit hard, but it's still working. It's still alive. Things are happening, right? I mean, there's unemployment. There's, maybe modern society is tarnished a bit, but it's, the government safety nets struggle, but they're there. People aren't, necessarily dying on the streets. Then the next thought was severe suffering, and I put this one up for Tony. He's been doing this last week, so that's Tony there, suffering severely. This is bad news. This is worse than the 30s. It's when infrastructure begins to crack, when the internet may not be reliable as much, when there's stuff missing on the store shelves. That's where, I think this is the conversation people are thinking about, where the financial system is kind of on life support. That's when fiat money maybe gets to be a scary thing. And modern society is in danger. And then the last part would be catastrophic suffering. And that's where we've had this massive cataclysmic event. When infrastructure disappears, the internet goes down. This is the apocalyptic scenario that all the crypto people love to think about, right? And so I thought this little girl was looking really good for this slide. The whole reason I did this presentation was to put this.
Hold on. Let me just stop you there real quick. If infrastructure disappears, I'm assuming and the internet is down, I don't think crypto people would be looking forward to this scenario. I mean, without the internet, you're pretty much Bitcoin without the internet.
That's what I was going to say. You get here, I think though that it's neither Bitcoin nor gold. I'm going to vote for antibiotics and water and bullets. I think those are going to be better stores of value.
Okay. All right.
And having done that, that was my 2 bits to this conversation. And now you guys can we can turn off the scary girl there in the gas mask.
So I think this was actually a fun way of starting off, because your different scenarios of being in pain actually very much apply to where or in which scenario Bitcoin or gold would be more useful or more valuable. I think that since we just left off in that apocalyptic scenario, I think, or I want to think at least, that we're never going to be there unless we get into some nuclear wars with one another, which hopefully that doesn't happen. But I don't think we're going to get there just based on economy. Or that's, maybe it's my brain telling me, don't worry, Tony, it's not going to happen. It's where, we've made some deep progress, humanity as humans, and we know better than, to get into that scenario.
But there's so many there's so many possible causes of cataclysmic events. We could be a solar flare that puts out the
there's like nuclear, there's ecology, there's like there's quite a few different reasons.
Change. There could be a lot of
ecology, climate change. So let me just ask you guys real quick. It's a short, simple yes or no question answer. So don't get too passionate about your answer quite yet. I just want to know where everybody stands right now. Okay. So I'm going to ask you a question and just, give me a plain, simple response. Okay. If I were to give you $100,000 today, right now, and you had to buy gold or Bitcoin, what would you buy? Dennis?
Bitcoin.
Meredith?
Bitcoin.
Alan?
Bitcoin.
Oh shit! I'm actually surprised, Matt.
I would actually go with Bitcoin.
Wow.
Okay, but that's fine because we haven't even reached the first level of suffering yet. So I mean, it makes sense. Who would buy $100,000 worth of gold today? I mean, what do you do with it? Where do you put it?
Right. So
I think there's.
Right.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So I'd qualify I'd qualify my statement or my thinking with like what Dennis said, the level of suffering. The level of suffering is minimal, and we're just gonna have regular economic cycles. And Bitcoin makes the most sense for me. That's my logic. At the current, if it's the current situation, or maybe a slight downturn, well, Bitcoin makes the most sense right now.
Okay, Matthew, why would you buy Bitcoin instead of gold?
Because I think it has more of an opportunity to make profit at this point. Gold to me is it's a safe spot that if I put $100,000 in there right now, in 6 months, it's probably going to be worth right around that $100,000. I'm not going to gain anything. If I lose anything, it's not going to be that much. Whereas Bitcoin, I might lose, but there's a good chance I can make some really good money off of it too.
Okay, so I think I didn't actually formulate the question correctly because you guys are talking. Okay, so are we talking about Bitcoin and gold from an investment perspective, from an opportunity to make money, quickly, or are we talking about Bitcoin and gold as a way to store your wealth or store your, your assets, your wealth?
Well,
if you had to,
I think it's both.
I'm giving you guys, well, not really. I mean, if you wanted a high ROI today, no one's going to buy gold because gold is not really doing anything. And Bitcoin on the other hand, it's going up and down every other week. So if I'm giving you guys $100,000 to protect your wealth as a way to store your wealth, would you guys buy Bitcoin or would you buy gold?
Well, with that question that away, then I would have to reverse and gold. Just because gold is the more stable. I mean, if you look at the price of gold over, the last 2 years, just what I was saying a minute ago, my $100,000 is pretty safe. Whereas you look at the last 2 years of Bitcoin and, it's a big gamble. So if I'm going to store my wealth and I'm wanting to make sure that I have my money in a week or a year from now, then I'm going to go with gold.
Okay, what about you, Alan? Would you still stick with Bitcoin or would you do gold?
I think I'll still have to stick with the same answer, Bitcoin.
Wow. Okay, Meredith, Bitcoin or gold?
Now I'm going to change the question on you guys, though.
Wait. Hold on.
You gotta buy whatever you got. Spend the 100,000 on today. You can't sell it for 15 years. Okay, that's the condition. Now you can't sell it because otherwise you're not storing the value long term. You're just hoping that you're going to make a short term profit, which is what we would all do, and then maybe you buy gold with the profit, right? But let's make the puzzle harder. Okay, what if you're given the 100 grand today, and you either buy Bitcoin or gold, but whatever you buy, you can't do anything with it for the next 15 years. Now, which would you do?
That's a good question. Yeah.
Go ahead, Meredith.
So
I mean, can I take my Bitcoin and put it into a Celsius or interest-bearing account and then get some more Bitcoins and then sell those Bitcoins and then put that into cash? Because there's options where you can go ahead and you can't.
No, don't change the question on me, man, Alan. We're putting in the $100,000. You got to do A or B. You can keep 100 grand worth of Bitcoin for 15 years, or you can keep 100 grand worth of gold.
Explode.
we're putting
lots of crickets now, man.
You stumped him.
I did. Crickets.
I mean, I guess I'll still go with Bitcoin.
Okay. I'm actually I thought Alan was going to be the gold defender here. I'm surprised. Okay. So I like the question. Meredith, what would you do?
Well, my answer would stay the same from your first question to Dennis's alteration to the question. I would stick with Bitcoin. And part of the reason why is because if you look at the history of Bitcoin, right, it hits these really crazy highs and then it kind of plateaus and then it drops a little bit and then it goes up again. But each plateau is a little higher. So my money would be on Bitcoin because, we had a long crypto winter and we're seeing spikes again. We're seeing some live action here, and it is volatile. Trust me, if anybody bought when it was 15,000 and then it dropped down to 5 again, they're devastated. But for the long term, if you're still holding on to those tokens, it's a finite amount. And for me, I would go with the 15 years and see where it is, because I don't think it's going away.
Come on, guys. You guys are crazy. No way.
What about
you,
Dennis?
This is technology. 15 years from now, you may be sitting on a bunch of empty bits.
But it's already
this isn't Disney stock. It's not Walmart stock. There's nothing there. There's no intrinsic value behind Bitcoin right now. You guys are willing to take 100 grand and bet on 15 years from now that I'm not saying cryptocurrencies won't be there. I'm not saying blockchain won't be there, but who knows if it's going to be Bitcoin? The question was Bitcoin.
The same could be said about gold, right?
Well,
no.
Unless we go to that cataclysmic event, gold will still be gold.
Right.
What's the difference between gold and Bitcoin?
Gold's been around for longer, right? And it's
okay. We
physical,
didn't have the internet 2,000 years ago.
Excuse me?
We didn't have computers 2,000 years ago. Had we had computers and internet, would Bitcoin still be around? And would it have a 2,000 history behind it? We don't really know. But I'm actually now a little confused. So would you put your 100K into gold, Dennis?
Yeah. If it was for 15 years, you bet I would. Yeah.
I'd say
that's interesting.
I see Dennis's point too, though, because 15 years from now, Bitcoin is going to be the godfather of crypto. I still do believe in 15 years that crypto will be around. I totally believe in the technology and blockchain. And so I think that we will still be using it. And I think it'll be a part of the daily vernacular in 15 years. But the question is, Bitcoin is going to be completely mined out by then. And is it going to have that value at that point? Or is it just going to be kind of a thing that, yeah, you invest a little in, or is it going to be completely gone? And with it being put to us the way Dennis said with 15 years, I'm going to have to side with Dennis and go with the gold on this, because unless we do hit that cataclysmic, little girl with a gas mask, gold is going to be the one that inherently has its value. 15 years
Now, see,
I'm not willing to bet on Bitcoin still being $10,000.
now here's where I comment and I ask you guys. You keep saying Bitcoin has no intrinsic value. Can you actually argue why you think this is true? Why do you think Bitcoin has no intrinsic value? I mean, what makes gold so valuable that Bitcoin? Why isn't Bitcoin as valuable?
It's not just. Gold is valuable because it's used for wedding rings, and it's used for jewelry, and it's used in electronic devices. It's a precious metal. It doesn't. It can't rust. It doesn't interact with other elements. It's pretty much in that sense. It's kind of like the blockchain of metals, right? It's immutable. It's just there. Whereas you could, at the very worst, you could make a sculpture of yourself with the $100,000 worth of gold, right? But you can't do anything if the Bitcoin is over. And maybe Ethereum is worth $1 billion each ether, right? But Bitcoin has been lost to oblivion. You can't do anything with it. You'll just have some empty bits in a wallet.
Well, here's where I comment, and I actually disagree with you guys. The fact that you can store wealth, and not only store but actually transfer wealth, number one, anonymously, number two, without a third party validating that transaction. I mean, isn't that, to me, that process is more valuable than being able to just wear gold in my ears or in my fingers. The fact that I can send you my wealth in like a matter of seconds at a very cheap price, to me, that process, to me, that actually has value. That's where Bitcoin is so valuable. I mean, try sending your wealth in the form of gold. How long is it going to take? How much is it going to cost you? How safe is it to send your wealth in the form of gold? To me,
how much
the value
of gold going to weigh and cost you in shipping?
Yeah, it's not easy. I mean, the fact that you can actually send your wealth to me, crypto is more safe than gold. Many people argue that Bitcoin isn't safe. To me, Bitcoin is incredibly safe. Many people lose their Bitcoin because they don't understand crypto, or they just can't bother to figure out what a cold wallet is, or how to not keep your secret keys in your computer or something. But the fact that you can store your wealth and transfer it in a matter of seconds and pretty much, at a very cheap cost.
Sure, but that's why we all said Bitcoin, Tony, at the beginning, because there was no time limit. The question
and you
changed,
think that in
though.
15 years,
it could be something
people are
else.
not going to value that?
No, but they could be. Of course they will, but they'll value it. But it could be a different technology. It could be something much better than Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's been forgotten. Who knows? 15 years is a long time without being able to get out of the market.
I mean,
look at, guys, throughout history, the only things that have value is what we give value. I mean, we used to trade beads for food. It's because we gave those beads value. The same with paper money. Paper money has no value. It only has value because we've assigned value to it. We accept this piece of paper in exchange for our goods and our services. The same with gold. Gold is only valuable because it's shiny. It can be made into lots of cool looking little things, pretty things. Like Dennis said, it doesn't rust. It does have the electronic and heating transfer properties. So Bitcoin is no different than the $5 bill in my wallet. It has value because we're assigning that value. It's crazy as, the price goes up and down. It ain't like my $5 that holds that $5. But, 15 years from now, just like what Dennis was saying, it could be something completely different. We could have the aliens coming here and wanting gold for their ships, for their electronics, and gold is, it's like a $5 bill. But now we're back to trading beads because we found out beads fuel something else. I mean, there's no telling where we could be. And man, 15 years is such a long time, guys. We've seen so much change. You just think about the last 15 years now and the 15 years before that. How much has changed in just those two time periods. Anyway, where I was going with that was everything only has value because we assign it a monetary value.
But that argument could be said about anything, right? I mean, gold as well. Gold has value because we think gold is valuable, right? But I don't agree with that mental process.
I think there's something important.
I don't agree with the fact that you're saying gold is valuable because people love wearing shiny things on their bodies, or the fact that they can see shiny things on their living rooms, or the fact that they can turn their precious metal into something. I mean, to me, the fact that you can store wealth and transfer it for free without having to go through any third person or entity, to me, that's more valuable than being able to actually touch your wealth or convert your wealth into jewelry or something. I mean, and let's be honest, who in here, or who, any middle class or lower class person, I mean, no one stores their wealth in the form of jewelry or gold. They just don't. Unless you're Prince Ali Ababa from Agrabah, you're not going to care about gold. You don't. Okay, and you don't store your wealth in jewelry.
All right, I'm going to give you that there is some intrinsic value in Bitcoin, okay? Because of what you're saying, there is a value that is the transactional value, but it is infinitely smaller. It isn't, I would say, if you're going to if we're looking at the girl in the gas mask, a box of antibiotics, a box of penicillin pills has enormous intrinsic value. It could become very scarce, and it could be worth, depending on how sick your child is, it could be worth everything, right? Everything you own. So I think that we shouldn't, gold has had intrinsic value for centuries and centuries, as we've said. Bitcoin doesn't, and it doesn't have the history. So we're all very gung-ho pro crypto people. I mean, we're all smart. We've all studied this. We work in Crypto Trader News. God damn it! But
I was gonna say, damn, we run a crypto publication. We gotta like it a little bit.
Exactly, but we also have to be have enough common sense to realize that intrinsic value exists in the real world. I mean, intrinsic value is the antibiotics. There are people that trade futures for Apple, right? For literally for apples that you eat, because apples have intrinsic value. You can eat them and you don't die of hunger. Okay, you can't eat a Bitcoin. You can't eat. It is just a symbol of value, albeit there's a technology underneath it that is very powerful, but it is also very vulnerable. As soon as the internet goes down, Bitcoin is worthless, whereas gold isn't.
Well, Dennis, I want to say this really quickly, and I think it speaks to confidence, consumer confidence, energy confidence. Where are we going to be? I mean, if you're in the field where you think that the world is going to end in 12 years, then Bitcoin is crap. Start stocking up on canned goods and stuff like that, whatever. But if you are, for me, I'm looking at the technology. I'm looking at these multi-billion-dollar businesses who are working on building blockchains, who are working on building their version of stablecoin or whatever it is. And I'm seeing the value in that and the underlying technology and going, well, if they're investing in this now, they have confidence that it's going to exist a decade from now, because nobody goes into business with a 1-year plan, because most businesses actually fail within the first year, right? So if they're looking at the 5-year, 10-year, 20-year plan, and they're putting together their development teams to accommodate for this new technology, then I think it's something that we need to look at.
I agree.
Yeah, we all agree, Meredith. Well said.
Alan, I thought you were going to be the only gold supporter in this live stream, and it turns out that you're the only Bitcoin supporter. Well, not really. Do you want to back me up here, or should we just take a loss and take the beat? And
Yeah, so what I'm thinking is this: the apocalyptic. We're not necessarily we're not necessarily preparing for an apocalyptic scenario with like catastrophic in regard to non-economic. You buy gold, and now you buy Bitcoin because you don't believe that the current monetary system and things such as debt, like unfunded liabilities and all these other aspects are not, in line. And in regard to Bitcoin, you're expecting that we're going to continuously transition into more and more technology over the next 10 to 15 years. So like you're seeing the rise of esports, you're seeing the rise of the digital goods that's present, how more and more people are buying just like skins for their characters, and like digital loot boxes.
automation, artificial intelligence, it's all
Right.
tech.
So,
It's all
right. Yeah. So everything exactly. So somebody said recently, every company is going to become a technology company, or every company already is a technology company. You just don't know it yet. So that's a good point, though. The only point that I would want to like figure out more is around why will Bitcoin be the leading digital asset within 15 years and still keep its value? Well, the whole idea is as it should if it continues to become keep its brand value and it has the consensus, meaning more and more people think Bitcoin when they think digital assets, and they continue to think that each year with developments with the Lightning Network and a variety of other aspects, and it's not just regular retail, but institutions like people like Mike Novogratz and other people who run these larger firms who keep on coming out on CNBC and other areas saying Bitcoin is digital gold. So if more and more people are repeating that, and more people keep on allocating value based on that thesis, well, then Bitcoin keeps its position, because everybody okay. So Ethereum is the one that's Ethereum, EOS, Tron, whoever else is the ones building other aspects. But you look at Bitcoin, you say it's simple. It's digital gold. It stores wealth and goes ahead and does these other things, and that's all you need it for. You can look at Ethereum or other aspects for further applications, dApps, but you can have that with Bitcoin as well over time. So I don't. I think that based on that technological view, we should continue to accrue value with Bitcoin. Technological view plus consensus view with institutions and also retail. I think it should hold its value over the course of 10 to 15 years.
would you
That's
still
my
put your
I
would you
want to
still put your
a little bit though.
I'll still do that 100,000. I still put that 100,000 into that over the course of 10 to 15 years, because I think the upside should be much more than with gold, right? It should be significant, because there's more and more.
Okay. So
There's
so
more and
here's the
more, and
thing.
finally, there's more and more like technology talent, and more like people within Silicon Valley and other areas that continue to gravitate toward crypto. I mean, and blockchain, right? I mean, just recently Microsoft just did this program. I mean, just yesterday they just announced a program where they're going to start working with companies to create their own tokens. So my thing is, this thing of blockchain tokenization and stuff like that should continue to grow, and the lead, like I think you still have Bitcoin as an anchor, and it should continue to stay as an anchor for the foreseeable future, because it's got more aspects than it's got better aspects than the other, platforms and tokens out there. That's my point.
Okay, so
I want to piggyback on that just a little bit, because Dennis, you're a marketing person. I grew up with marketing also, and so we have this history, and you cannot buy the branding that Bitcoin already has. When people think of cryptocurrency, the synonym for cryptocurrency is Bitcoin.
It's Bitcoin.
Yeah, you're right, Meredith. You're right, but I would still say that you can buy that brand still. It's so new. There's so few people that know anything about crypto right now.
But even the people who don't know about crypto, when you say cryptocurrency, their first response is, "Oh, Bitcoin." I mean, that's branding that you really can't buy, because it's already seeping in. It's like Q-tips for the cotton swabs and for tissue. Bitcoin is cryptocurrency, and people will recognize that, and it'll be the first go-to when they're doing a Google search.
So I have a question here, just so we can all take sides here. Dennis and Matt would put their money in gold, and Alan would put his money in Bitcoin. Where would you put your money, Meredith?
I would definitely be in Bitcoin.
Perfect.
Nice.
Join us.
Yes.
So now, Tony, you're the tiebreaker, man. What is it?
I'm gonna go with stocks. Sorry.
Cheater. That wasn't.
I mean, to be honest,
he pulled the Captain Kirk on us.
If I wanna protect my wealth, I think it's smart to just leave it in gold, because I think gold's gonna be around forever, and it's been proven that I think it's a very bad 21st century currency. But for some people, I mean, for some reason, Homo sapiens like shiny things, and gold is shiny, and it's never going to lose its shininess. And if anything, it's just going to keep becoming more shiny, because Homo sapiens, just keep on praising it for some reason. I really think it's useless. I don't really see. To me, Bitcoin is way more useful and valuable than gold. But if I were to protect my wealth today, I would probably buy gold, just because Bitcoin is very new. I don't think in 15 years Bitcoin is going to be gone. I think cryptocurrencies are the future. I think it's just smart money. It's the good way of actually using money. But I can't bet 100K on Bitcoin today. I'll let the big whales bet on it.
You can bet it today as long as you can sell tomorrow. But the question was a tricky question, because we all were in agreement that we would buy 100K worth of Bitcoin today, because we can sell tomorrow or the day after, and we know there's a liquid market there for it. The question changed. The responses, and Matt and Tony and I changed when we put the 15-year hold, because there's a lot of uncertainties there. There's a lot of technological uncertainties there, and hey, it's Meredith and Ellen are the brave ones, and we're the conservative ones.
Well, I'm sticking with my answer, because again, with the Bitcoin history, if you look over this 10-year history, it reaches these plateaus, and then it shoots up, and then it maybe recovers itself or falls back down, but it never hits to the previous plateau. You know what I mean? So in the next 10 years or the next 15 years, if it shoots up and hits another plateau, guess what? I'm still making money. I'm still making profit.
Way
I
more
agree.
money than
You're
the people
right.
holding gold. That's for sure.
I'm
Way more
actually
money.
looking at the gold chart. I have it open here just because I think we're kind of, first of all, gold. I'm looking at the history from basically
Can I
this
share? Can I share
is,
this with everyone?
oh, let me see. Yeah, I can probably do that. Hold on. If you look at this here, how do I do
I
this?
got you.
There you go. You see, this is the gold chart here. Make it a little bigger, maybe.
Yeah. Now pull up the Bitcoin one.
This is
You know,
okay, but let's look. I mean, this is from 1915. Okay, it's pretty volatile, and it does go up in plateaus. But I mean, in 1970, it was down to 200 and something an ounce, 237 here on 1970, and now
Yeah,
it's at.
Well, yeah, that's because
What?
Nixon got rid of the gold standard, right?
exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
when everyone was thinking, "Oh shoot, my gold is not going to be worth anything anymore."
Yeah, that's when it dropped, and
Right.
but since then, yeah, I didn't
It's been
realize.
pretty
I'm
much
really glad.
uphill.
Yeah, I'm glad you put up that chart because I thought it had pretty much kind of stayed plateau for like the last decade, and that chart doesn't look like that's the case at all.
yeah.
No.
And which
Yeah.
surprises me.
And the
But
thing
now
here is
if
also
somebody
it's a
pulls
little
up
bit cheating to talk about this though because it is because the U.S. dollar has also devalued over this. This is a long time frame. So $1,500 an ounce right now might not be many more loaves of bread than than 500 an ounce in 1915. I would bet you could buy a lot more bread in 1915 with $500 than you could with 1,500 today.
Right. Well, backing up for a minute with Tony throwing a wrench into everything and breaking the rules and saying he was going with stock. If we're going with the 15 years, I'm kind of the doomsday kind of guy, and so I'm going with bullets and antibiotics because that's where I'm putting my money.
Yeah, I mean, if it comes down to bullets and antibiotics, I'm not even sure I care about
It's a
anything
sailboat.
anymore at that point. Yeah, I'm just. We each buy a sailboat and meet up in a small island in the Caribbean or something, and just live the pirate life from now on.
Right, exactly. So that's why there's that. That's why there's that differentiation between doomsday scenario, like total doomsday scenario versus economic doomsday, right? 2008, 1940s. I mean 1930s.
I don't think 2008 was economic doomsday. I think it was a big depression, but I don't think it was doomsday. Like people weren't trusting their governments at all. People didn't lose complete faith on the U.S. dollar. It wasn't
Right.
And by the way, we should do a shout out to Abid Molani, who said hello. He sent us a hello on YouTube. So let's just say hi. Here, you can click on him over there, Tony, and his comment will show up on the screen.
Cool.
Hey, there we go. Dave, welcome to the show.
And but yeah, and just to go back to what Alan was saying, I don't think you can have economic doomsday without having an apocalyptic scenario. I think that if the U.S. dollar collapses, or the Chinese yuan collapses, or any of these big currencies go to hell, I think we're going to be living in a very bad apocalyptic scenario where people are going to be doing all sorts of things to just get food.
Yeah, but we're not anywhere near there. I mean, seriously.
I'm gonna go ahead and just say, Matt, I think you're crazy. I don't think we're anywhere near that scenario. I think keep getting better.
It's a minute till midnight.
It's a minute
There's
till
a phrase
midnight.
called a minute till midnight.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
what you talk about? We got Iran going crazy. We got Turkey going crazy. We got
That's true.
We got Russia that could still go back into the Ukraine and just piss everybody off, next week. And with what the man we've got running everything, he could push the button tomorrow, man. So
yeah. Let's not even open that can of worms, man.
right. But anyway, yeah.
So, well, guys, I think we've been here. We've been live for 40 minutes. We've hashed this out. I think this was a lot of fun. Let's keep doing these. I think it was for our first live cast of Crypto Trader News. I think it went really well.
Oh, I do too.
So just as a small recap, in the short term, we would all buy Bitcoin, but in the long term, only Alan and Meredith would buy Bitcoin.
Right.
Me and you, Alan. Me and you.
And then
Yeah.
Dennis and Matthew keep their shiny gold.
And I would say first you should go buy my book.
And then,
Okay.
Shameless plug.
guys, we can mark this occasion too. We have the CTN Wallet Watcher coming up, and so we can mark this occasion. We're buying the altcoins and stuff, and so 15 years from now, we can say, "Hey, Tony, remember that $100,000 you gave us? Well, this is what it's worth in gold, and this is what it's worth in Bitcoin." And
All right, this might be the sexist thing to say, but as the only woman, I'm going to be very happy to say I'm right.
Good.
I hope you are.
Get out there.
Good way to end this. All
All
right.
right.
Thank you, guys.
Hey, thanks
All right,
for tuning in,
everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.